Hello friends, family and other creatures of the sea, and welcome to another series of games. Yet it is not a single best of 3, and it is also not always with the same players. What is happening here? Well, we will be following a build order over the course of 2 tournaments, and we'll see how the Protoss players respond. So in the top left, without any further ado, spawning as our yellow ZERG player, it is Fiant. And in the bottom right, as our red toss, we have Gerald. And by now, yep, it should have revealed itself for what it is. It is the proxy hatch build order. So this particular build has been performing relatively well in tournaments against opponents that have been way higher rated than Fiant, both on Aligalak as well as on the ladder. Yet Fiant, he keeps getting away with it. So let's just have a look to see what those different players do. Let's have a look to see what how Fiant responds to the different responses of the Protoss players, and just have a good time all together. So it's going to be a proxy hatch, and it's a very particular proxy hatch, as both the hatchery as well as the spawning pool were built pre-Overlord, which probably means that everything just, everything hits a lot faster. Look at this spawning pool timing. It's going to end up finishing at 1 minute and 40 seconds in. The usual spawning tool timing is about 2 minutes in. So this is a solid 20 seconds faster. Because this hatchery also finishes quite a bit quicker, it can be very confusing for the Protoss player. It's going to get a Zealot out here and decides not to get a natural. So did scout it, has a pretty solid response, as the first spine is now gonna go up, and this drone does end up falling pretty much for free. Second spine does need to be cancelled. Pretty expensive mistake there for Fiant. If you only have 15 workers and you lose one, that is a significant portion of your income that you don't have anymore. Now, this spine, I'm not so sure if it's gonna end up going up. No, also won't go up. These lings are taking a bit too much damage for my taste. Second Zealot is about to pop here, as well as this probe now in a little bit of trouble. First Ling goes down. And another drone pops over here. And now the reinforcements from the main base come in. Can the spine end up continuing building? I think it can. Another non-cancel. Or, well, the first non-cancel, but another drone dead. At the same time, though, 2 Zealots will end up falling. Creep Tumor might get sniped. Yep, there we go. That's a pretty big deal. So far, absolutely everything has been going wrong here for our proxy hatching ZERG player. But that shouldn't stop him from continuing his brilliant little plan of building spines on his opponent's side of the map. As he starts right-clicking this gateway at this moment, will take out the Zealot in the end. Batteries are being thrown down. Now, we see a Nexus coming out of Gerald. He says, hey, if I want to be building batteries, I want to have a Nexus, right? It's just generally nice to have a Nexus. Super battery is very powerful as well, but he's still in a pretty scary position as of now. First gateway does end up falling. This Stalker in the wall, I don't think it's going to be healed by this battery quite in time, as now the links perhaps are moving through. Spinecrawler still knocking on the Cybernetic Score's door. Cybernetic Score keeps saying that no one is home, but that ain't quite true. So you definitely see Warp Gate on the way. Adept will finish up as well at this moment, and the Nexus will, well, be done in about 3 seconds, which means the Super Relic could be activated at that point, but the Stalker is going to die just before that actually happens. We do shoot the super battery at this point, but there's no extra units coming out of this gateway. And despite the terrible start here for Fiant, in which he lost a drone, a non-cancel on a spine, and he lost his first creep tumor, he did manage to kind of break through at this point. There's no more Cybercore available, which means that Stalkers and Adepts cannot be constructed, and you're not going to win the war with Zealots. There's no fort, so cannons are impossible practically as well. There's one Adept still remaining, but the amount of slowlings here that are hitting these buildings, that are hitting these probes, is just a little bit too high. Probe Micro has been okay out of Gerald, but okay is not going to be good enough, as GG gets called, and Fiant wins the first game in this series of games. The second game we're going to be watching once again will be Fiant here in the top left as our yellow ZERG player. This time our Protoss in the bottom right is going to be the blue toss, Showtime. As this also is from the DreamHack ESL Masters Young Shopping. And this was actually the first series that was played in general. This was the first time that this build was revealed to the world in a big way, in a tournament, that is, because I've played it in a video before after I got beaten by it on the ladder, also on Grassvan. I thought, well, this was pretty darn good. I was very surprised by it. A lot of the older proxy hatches, first of all, have a way later proxy hatch and would always go into link speed. The spine crawlers were often not the real purpose of the all-in, if that makes any sense. The spine crawlers, they were kind of there to open the door so that your speedlings could flood in. So it was more of a speedling rush than a spine crawler. Well, it was still spine crawler rush as well, but a lot of it came from the speedlings. This time, though, really a lot of it is just about denying your opponent's production. So it plays out extremely different. Now, Showtime usually doesn't block, which makes it a lot easier for him to figure out what actually is going on. But at the same time, this is still a pretty early pool, so he might still be confused. Look at this. Look at the mind games going on here. I think Showtime actually is uber confused. He's just going to get a core first. I think he wants to throw down a Nexus still, because he doesn't quite know. Now he sees the lack of a hatchery over here, and now he'll go for a second gate. But he actually got real confused here by Fiant. As he's oh my god, you can't. He's literally the most unlucky man in the world. Wait, what's going on, huh? Second gate still. Okay, now he sees the creep. He's like, I wonder what that is going to be. Wonder where that's coming from. But yeah, he sees the creep, knows what it's going to be at this point. Probe is just scouting around for banter. We have double batteries coming in. Zealot will pop out in time as the first Stalker starts as well. So a different approach here than Gerald, but that might just be because Showtime had no clue what was coming for him. There's a single Stalker that's going to be out. We have a second gas on the way as well. And more, well, another pylon, more batteries as well coming in. This is a lot of links, don't forget. The first Stalker is about to pop. But the unfortunate is Zealot dies before anything major happens. First two spines moving forward. So a way cleaner early game for both players. Now last time, even without a clean early game, Fiant just managed to win. I think this was a mistake maybe. I mean, he burned through a lot of the energy, but at the same time, he also lost a lot of links. I feel like the spines would have maybe been a bit better at this. Stalkers are going to stay alive. There's not enough links right now to truly break through. Wouldn't mind seeing another spine being added in either. This one goes very far forward. Holy crap. This guy has had enough of standing in the far back. He says, no, the Cybercore isn't important enough for me. I am aiming for bigger and better things, and start fighting the Cybercore from up close. And you'll love to see it. I actually think that the Cybercore is one of the most important structures, because it stops... once you kill it, it stops you from being able to build Stalkers and Adepts, which really are the best unit in my opinion. Now, two spines are moving even further forward. I really think more spines could have been built here. Look at the amount of cash that Fiant is floating as well right now. This looks like I mean, or another queen maybe, but there's 300 minerals currently in the bank, and he's just not spending it. This queen is falling lower and lower. Link's coming in for a surround. Almost get that Stalker down as a Zealot now pops out. The backup cybernetic score is done as well. Don't forget, this is 13 workers against 23. So technically, if Showtime ends up holding on one base, he's going to be in at least a playable-ish position. I'm not saying it's super playable, but it might be somewhat playable. He's mining a lot of gas as well. He thought he was going to need it. Oh boy, well, how wrong he was. He did not need any gas. He's floating 400 at the moment. We do have that next queen now on the way, but only after the first queen ended up falling. Showtime slowly but surely is starting to hold, as this spine will get taken out as well. And I think Fiant is in a little bit of trouble. Well, a little bit. He's fairly dead at the moment. That's what I'm feeling. Two more gates are going up on the high ground, but there's two low ground gates as well. So it's practically going to be a one base 4 gate here. Versus, well, 13 workers that are just spamming links. Zealot's actually doing a decent job as well. The moment that spines are not around anymore, Zealots become uber useful. Now, Fiant is still trying his best. He's trying to make something work. Showtime proxies a pylon at this point, says, hey, I want to go for a counterattack at some point as well. And I do believe that a counterattack might just be a little bit too much. Sentries are being added in as well. As this Overlord might just end up falling. Here comes Fiant one more time. In with the surround on the creep, of course. A little bit harder to micro for Showtime than he ideally would want. Hatchery goes down on the natural base. And a robotics facility also starts. So most likely going to either be for a prism or for some type of immortal. Very often the response after this is going to be an immortal push. Now, Showtime does need to be careful. He doesn't know whether speed is being researched, but he doesn't want to risk it, obviously. It's like, hey, if I'm in the middle of creep, I need to be somewhat careful, because if I get surrounded by 50 speedlings, that might be the one way you can still lose, you know? You don't want that to happen. Hatchery is going to end up falling, and at this point it's looking pretty freaking dire here for for Fiant. I'm surprised he stays in because he's really, really dead. But then again, sometimes people truly believe that they can still make it happen. Hatchery is on the way, but if you're half of your opponent's workers, it doesn't matter if you have 2 bases. Like, you can't even saturate 1 base currently. He's mining with 10 workers from the minerals. Spinecrawler being built in the main base right now, so we have 4 adepts being warped as well. Speed is still extremely far away too, don't forget about that. And there's 4 gateways. We have an observer that's never going to end up finishing up, and Showtime's most likely just going to walk across the map. Fiant's going to do the same thing, but in a base trade, I'm favoring the player that has 36 army supply over the player that has 18 army supply. On top of that, I don't really believe that Showtime can lose all the production in his main, but I do believe that Fiant is going to lose every bit of production in his main, and literally everything that has ever been in the main will go down. Speed will probably not see the light of day ever. These 2 queens called out, can't even transfuse each other. And now it's, I mean, this game is really, really over. I'm not quite sure why we're still in here. Sometimes that happens in life. You know, the beauty is that we could just speed it up technically. Look at that. 2 times. Because we still want to see the victory screen. Oh, there we go. GG, well played. So Showtime finds the response. Although I do have to, you know, I just want to put it out there that I do feel like that the control of Fiant here could have been improved on, as well as the macro. I think losing all the links initially, I'm not quite sure what the purpose of that is. I also feel like that adding in more spine crawlers definitely does quite a bit for you, because the spine crawlers are really the banger. You know, if you see this many batteries, you know you're gonna get through that, need to get through that, and spines are fantastic at that. They don't die, and yeah, they're good. All right, we have one more. All right, and just like that, we're transported over to Krefeld, Germany. Teleported, perhaps, even. As it's 2 weeks later, after the DreamHack Masters ESL Summer. And it's Fiant versus Skillous. Skillous has just taken out Hero Marine 2-0 in his group, and is probably feeling pretty darn good about that. There's 5 players in the group, so it's still important that he wins, well, not just every single map, but every single series. More on that later. For now, we're watching Fiant once more do the same thing. Don't forget, he took out Gerald. He showed it against Showtime already. So it should be perhaps a little bit more on people's radar. You know, but then again, do you really check the open stage? You know, every single match on the, you know, of the DreamHack Masters? Are you going to go through every single replay? A well-prepared man would have definitely done that. So we're going to figure out whether Skillous is a well-prepared man or not. Did he respect Fiant as his opponent and do just a tiny tad of research before playing on Grassvan against the man? He's looking for something and doesn't quite find it. It's like, hey, wait a second, buddy. What is it that you're doing right now? Are you going to be 12 pooling me, perhaps? Pool is not done yet. No, that doesn't look a whole lot like a 12 pool, does it now? Does not look like a 12 pool at all. So Skillous sees the proxy hatch. Chrono Boost the Zealot. So closer to the Gerald approach. And a Forge. Do you see that? He started up a Forge and cancelled it. Now goes for a second gate. It's really interesting to see like kind of the gut responses out of players and whether they're wrong or if they're correct. I think usually a double Zealot is quite a good tool to use against this. But because the links come out quicker, I'm not sure if that's still the case. It feels like you're wasting time where you could be building Stalkers. Like the spines are going to finish, I think. Most of the time. Control here out of Fiant is a little bit better than against Gerald. Against Gerald he lost the drone and then forgot to cancel Spine, which was, well, kind of painful to witness. Spine in the back is definitely coming up here, as 2 more links are also ready to pop out. Queen is here, yeah. And now these Zealots are, I don't want to say they're useless, but they're not very useful. They're most likely going to end up dying. Skillous in a bit of trouble, well, bit of trouble. 2 Zealots gone. Battery pushed in front as well. So really wanted to stop those spines from ever setting up shop, basically. This battery is going to be mainly focused. This is kind of a in-between Showtime and Gerald, you know? Gerald opened up with the 2 Zealots, and Showtime did the many batteries, and Skill is also going for the many batteries. It's not quite working out. Does not have any batteries, well, available right now with energy whatsoever. These spines start knocking on this gateway, rather than focusing on the cyber core. I'm not sure what is actually the correct thing to target, but it does feel like Fiant has it down as Showtime, or sorry, Skill is in a little bit of trouble here. Fiant almost gets this around on one of these. Oh my god, wait, this might actually be good. Was this not a good spot for a Stalker to be? He was safe, he was sound. I guess these two are gonna get surrounded. This bad boy wants to walk back in towards the main base. Lings continue to flood in as this battery under some heavy pressure. 2 spines taking out this gateway. Pylons falling quickly in HP as well, as there's no more batteries to repair. Probes are being pulled off the line. Skillous did not build a Nexus like Gerald, but the result seems fairly similar to what Gerald did. Went for Twilight Council. That is the one tech structure I hadn't expected. I could have seen a robotics facility or a Stargate, but the Twilight Council? Like, you gotta get Blink for your 2 Stalkers. Like, surely that is not the real issue here. The issue here is you lacking some damage output, and Void Ray, Oracle, robotics facility all feel like they contribute much more to that project than Blink ever would. Also don't think DTs would really be a viable option here, but maybe I'm the idiot. That's completely possible, of course. Skillous decides to move back into the main base right now. It does feel bad, you know. He's already spread his wings, went out into the real world. Now comes knocking back on his, you know, his parents' door. Parents, please. The real world is difficult. Let me in again. Parents are okay. You can come back in. You're gonna have to pay rent. That's fine. I can pay rent. That's no problem for me. Cybernetics core here is gonna get shafted. Don't forget that, funnily enough, this is still 13 workers to 22. And rather than transitioning out of this, like some players might have, Fiant says no, actually. I'm just going to continuously push up here. I'm getting creep in towards your main base, and I have more links. So it's just going to continuously send in links. Zealots are in production right now. There's no tech structure, so it literally just has to be Zealots. This is a good hold position move as well. There's no core. Look how much gas he has. That is the one thing that I think all TOS players did incorrect. They thought that gas was going to be an important resource. Well, the only thing that mattered here was minerals. So a lot of mining has been wasted on gas. Like, you don't need it at all, because you're going to be building pure gateway units. Perhaps you don't even need a second assimilator. I'm not sure on that, though. Maybe you do need it initially, but then you can just pull out of gas. There's just a single battery remaining right now. Doesn't have a whole lot of energy. Now there's 2 spines knocking on the door. A little bit of cash left over for Fiant as well. There's 300 minerals at the moment. 2 queens, both with at least 1 transfuse. As super battery is not quite available yet. There's no energy, and it's also on cooldown. Skillous trying his best to survive, but he's losing a lot of workers, and at this point he's also down in workers. The super battery does get reactivated, as another pylon will fall. GG gets called. So versus 2 absolute top players, Skillous and Showtime, Fiant wins 1 game. I think Fiant, by the way, is about 5'8" on the ladder usually. 5'7", between 5'7" and 5'9". Skillous usually around 6'8", 6'7". Showtime around 6'6", 6'7" as well. Gerald 6'3", 6'4", something along those lines. So this is a very, very impressive upset, in my opinion. I just wanted to show it because I thought it was hilarious. I know not a lot of people have seen those games. Skillous, by the way, ended up going 10-1 in his group at Home Story Cup. So the one map that he lost was against Fiant, who went for this build. And I don't know, sometimes there are these stories at tournaments, or like these stories over multiple tournaments, where it's just really funny and no one really gets to see it, because I don't think, well, maybe like 150 people saw Fiant play against Gerald, maybe 150 saw him play against Showtime. These are not games that usually make it to the mainstream, you know? And it's the same with Skillous version. And I just thought it was so funny that he's been under the radar at DreamHack Summer with this build, that Skillous probably underestimated him, right? Skillous looked at his group and thought, well, I'm 1,000 MMR above him. How much do I really need to prepare for this? Like, what can he throw out that could take me out, you know? I'm good at standard PvZ. I can just do that. And then, you know, it bites him in the bum. It could have actually been very impactful, because sometimes at Home Story Cup, you know, a single map ends up making the difference. But that wasn't the case here, because, well, Skillous went 10-1 in his group, didn't lose a single series, and only lost a single map. And it was to this beautiful man. Fiant, very young player as well. Just played his first 2 major tournaments, and this is one of the builds that he brought. Also played some macro games. All of those replays are, of course, free to download from the respective Liquipedia. So if you want to see more of his runs, or you can watch other videos on YouTube, I'm sure DreamHack might have uploaded something there, or Home Story Cup, I don't know. All right. Yeah, that was it. A little bit different than usual, but I thought it was super interesting, so I just wanted to share it. Thanks everyone for watching. Please let me know what you thought of it. If you want to see, more things like this, or you're like, no, back to regular series. We want best of threes, Harstem. This was confusing. Also, be sure to let me know in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy it, and bye-bye.